It would have been business. My family has a lot, like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs. I definitely think I would have jumped into the trucking business. My grandfather and my dad owned trucking companies. So that was with 18 wheelers and also dump trucks, which supply rocks and sand and different things for like building homes. I definitely would have probably jumped into that. But the music, when the love for music just was so strong, man. Like I was just like, I don't care what's going on. I know we have a legacy in my family. I know this is a family business, but I want to do music. And so even if I had to do both, I would have done both, but I know for sure I would have still done music. And I'm so grateful that I was able to have the opportunity to do music full time because it kind of changed the narrative in my family. Because at the beginning, my grandfather was like, well, when are you going to get a real job? You're just doing music. When you gonna really get a real job and have and he came from the old school, you know what I mean? And so he didn't really see money and or success in music. He came from the old school where you go and you get a college degree and you get a job and you start your own business. And so I did have a little bit of battle with that. But I think that the fact that the music was so good and God had given me such a amazing gift that it was so obvious when you heard the music that this is what that person should be doing. I think it's my foundation, honestly. I come from a real old school background. I was raised by grandparents, and my mom was, of course, definitely in my life. She definitely helped raise me. But a lot of times throughout our life, we lived with my grandparents, me and my mom. So I think that I got a lot of that foundation of humility from them. Just kind of they kind of all taught me, and that's on both sides. My mom's side and my dad's side kind of taught me to always be humble and always know that the things that you have or the way that you're able to live and all of those things come from God. Is not really you. You know what I mean? And I think that that really stuck with me even till adulthood. So now when I'm making music, I try my best to stay humble because I know it's not just me. And I also know that the gift that God has given me, he didn't give to everybody else. So I'm chosen, you know what I mean? And so like everybody doesn't have that opportunity. And so I should be grateful for that. But I also want to be humble because I would love to inspire the next person that's coming up behind me. You know what I mean? There's been so many people that I looked up to and I finally met them and they were just jerks. And I'm like, man, like I loved you until I met you. You know what I'm saying? And so I never want that to happen with me. I never want people that admire me or look up to me to finally meet me and then, they are turned off. So I want to always make sure I'm nice to people, humble, and, also, inspirational to them, that they will want to level up, and hopefully I can do that. Man, I'm going to start with quarantine first. Quarantine was very rough in the beginning. I was so unsure, being an entrepreneur and also being an indie artist, when things like that happen, when a pandemic happens, like you kind of don't know what's going to happen next. I know I usually live and survive off of performing and creating new music. And so when the pandemic hit, we weren't able to move around. We weren't able to perform in front of people. And I live off of that stuff. Like I literally do this for a living. So when that happened, I was so unsure of what I was going to do next. I'm like, what's God going to do now that I'm stuck at home? And, people are getting sick and family members are getting sick and people are losing their lives. I was like, where do I fit in with that? Or how am I going to survive? I was worried about my family. And I think that things just turned around within like a month or two's time. And I learned so much about the music business during that time. Like I learned about, like I said, the consistency, being consistent, and also having music prepared to release. I usually make music when I feel like, I should put something out. This is a good season. It feels good. Let's just make some stuff right now. But I love the fact that I learned that, having music available at all times was great. And the fact that people were at home, people started listening to music more. Everybody got on TikTok during the pandemic. Everybody's dancing at home, grandmas, dads, kids, everybody. And so everybody started streaming music. And when everybody started to stream the music, they started streaming my music. And then next thing I know, I was so grateful that I owned my own music. I owned my own publishing, everything was mine. And so I was able to literally survive and live off of my music. And so ownership is key. I learned that ownership was so important, and ownership is key for your business, because again, this is also a business. It's a ministry to me too, but it's business too, man. And so I'm so grateful that I was able to own my own music, because it sustained me all the way through 2020. Just being more consistent. I think I came from the time when you were able to put out an album and let it live for 2 years, or you put out a project and you just let it ride. Like, I think now, the way people are digesting music is so much faster. Like, you have to be so consistent. You have to constantly release music, constantly release visuals, videos. Like, people want to see the artist now. They don't just want to hear you, and they want to hear you often. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, now I've learned that, consistency is key. Not just quality and not just talent, but consistency. Because there's honestly no shade to anybody, but there's some people that aren't really that good, but they're consistent and they're winning because they're always there. You know what I mean? So sometimes it kind of doesn't really just only depends on how good you are. It's about the consistency. And so if I can go back in time and tell myself that, man, I would probably, have 30, 40 albums out by now. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot more, there will be a ton of people that know of who I am or know my message. So yeah, I would definitely tell myself that.